This meeting is being recorded.
All right, everybody, we're back. Thanks for viewing part one and deciding you wanted to stick around for more. Now we're going to get into the really fun stuff. We're going to start talking about some of the executive orders. So, Nate, you want to take it away? Maybe just share some of your initial thoughts, what you're thinking.
Yeah, yeah, anyone who works in the government space or with the government will tell you right now that it's a crazy scene out there. Um, there's lots of changes happening um across the board, across every department. Um, and so yeah, I don't know. I wanted to hear your guys' insights and I'll give some of mine about some of them that are happening. Obviously we have changes across immigration, um, across sort of diplomacy in general. I think we all saw the conversation between Trump and Zelensky in the last day or so. So yeah, we can launch into some of those discussions. Um, I think one that hits close to home is the sort of the deportations that have been happening, especially within our own community back home. I don't know if you guys have any insights into that.
Yeah, I guess for context, for anybody who doesn't know, there was a family from Haddon Township, it's the town right next to ours, and they were apprehended by ICE recently. Like a family that's big part of the community, um, well known, well respected, well liked. So yeah, it's definitely something upsetting that's happened kind of close to where we're from. Um, but yeah,
Yeah. I think it's upsetting to see sort of especially people, who have not by no means are they criminals, you know, upstanding members of our community, that help out other members of the community. They've been here for so long and it's not like they weren't working towards, um being legal citizens of the being, sort of legal citizens within the eyes of the government. I think they actively were, I believe. And it was just the government sort of keeping their case um, from sort of progressing.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, definitely just disappointing stuff to see. And it's happening across the board. Even here in Gainesville, there were a couple days where sort of ICE cars were pulling people over, and it was just like bizarre to see. Like, you would hear like, yeah, I don't know. It's just like bizarre to see that on your own campus.
yeah. It's definitely super upsetting, especially like when you hear those stories. And I think another one, kind of another one of those executive orders that ties into that also thinks not exactly making me thrilled as ending birthright citizenship. So for anybody who doesn't know, that means that if people are here legally, they haven't gone through the right processes, and then they have a child. Before it was that child would automatically be a U.S. citizen. They were born on U.S. soil, and now that's being revoked. That's no longer the case. Um, and I can see how from like a first instinct somebody might support that, but at the same time you're thinking of a child born. This is all they've ever known. That they could have been here for a decade, 2 decades, right? Same as me, Nate or Chris, just born into a different circumstance, different parents, right? But they've been here. This has been their home, and now they're being denied the citizenship that they've had for, however many years. Something that I don't really think necessarily meshes with my values or what makes logical, rational sense to me. But
It offers up a situation where couldn't like someone or a child be born in the United States, they don't get their birthright citizenship, and whatever country um their parents might be from, or whatever else, they might not have citizenship to any country, period. So
yeah,
like, what do you
exactly.
do in that situation? It's like kind of unreal.
Yeah, it's actually
Um,
and it's also not even just like immigrants from across the border. We could be talking about refugees, right? Who can't
yeah,
go back to their home countries, right? They can't get citizenship here. Then yeah.
yeah. And there's some crazier ones. The fact that we're debating that in terms of citizenship, someone born here can't have it, but a foreign national who wants to pay $5 million can get their gold card apparently. That's apparently a program that's coming soon.
Yeah, it's just yeah, definitely some bizarre stuff going on. I think without a doubt, whatever side of the aisle you're on, I mean, you can. I don't think anybody has any issues admitting like there's some crazy changes going on for sure. Definitely a lot to kind of take in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Chris, you got any insights?
I agree. Yeah, I agree with your guys saying. I think one of the probably more for I guess me and Ian more like closely hitting orders that were executive orders is like the freeze of like the NIH grants, like National Institute of Health. And for me, that kind of impacts me directly, being that like I'm involved in research here at the University of Richmond, and also I'm looking to do like a research fellowship this summer. And like with that uncertainty about funding, like a lot of these programs are like kind of like debating on whether they'll have the necessary funds to like provide like to do research and give these experiences. I'm not sure how it's affected you how it has affected you, Ian, but I know for like my research lab, it was like a big question. Like we were supposed to get a grant before Trump got in office, and then it kind of went up in air. But hopefully we'll be getting that grant eventually. But it's just like some uncertainty right now, based on that.
Yeah, it's actually directly affecting me too. I work in a radiation lab here, and it was established by the Department of Atomic Energy, the Atomic Energy Commission in the 1960s. So it's actually like directly tied to the government and relies like on a lot of government funding. So there have been like some changes, some adjustments. Everything like with me, with the professor I did research with, like nothing's really changed there. But there has been like some restructuring, changes in funding, grants, and whatnot. Like definitely
Mhm.
um, directly affecting the people I work with.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this stuff is also sort of sad to see, in terms of cuts on research, threats to pull funding from universities if they, still have certain programs related to uh things like DEI, anything related to affirmative action within like um clubs or communities on campus. Um, all of it's kind of crazy to sort of think about, and how like I just think of like my campus particularly, and if we had to eliminate certain things like that, what it would look like for campus. And it's crazy. So
Yeah. I think just kind of like you mentioned some of the DEI stuff, some of those policies. There was one of the executive orders was actually rescinding. I think it was 78 of Biden's executive orders that were specifically devoted to racial, gender equality and whatnot. And like it was said that that was done to make a more colorblind and merit-based society. Um, I don't know. I guess it's just been something that I've like been reading a little bit about because I'm going to Appalachia, and that's a place that's been affected by a lot of institutional racism and poverty for a long time. Um, so just kind of like thinking about this idea of like, what does it mean to really have like a merit-based society? Is that possible when you're kind of dealing with centuries and ages of discrimination and oppression towards minority underprivileged groups? Like, is it really possible to just make it a meritocracy, like just say, hey, you can work hard and accomplish anything you want? Like, does that really make much sense? I mean, it doesn't really make that much sense to me, but I don't know what you guys think.
um yeah. I think that um it's definitely like you can't I agree with you. Like you can't like, sort of all of a sudden up and end um any programming related to DEI or affirmative action, honestly. Like um I understand that in certain circumstances people can be frustrated based off of affirmative action programming, but at the end of the day, like those frustrations are nothing to the reasons that affirmative action is there in the first place. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel like there's been like a lot of like abrupt changes, and it's kind of like I think everyone's just confused on like how they should move forward. I feel like I see a lot of companies like rolling back different programs. It's kind of like I don't know. There's just a mass uncertainty of like how people should advance, and really no one knows how to really do that right now, which I think is kind of stressful for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, there have been so many executive orders. It'd be difficult to kind of touch on all of them. Nate, are there any more that kind of jump out to you? I mean, I could see one or two that I might address, but I want to see what you're thinking.
I mean, one of the ones that I look at, not necessarily one of the ones that I think is necessarily the most important in terms of right now societal impact. Um, but something that I work with closely is innovation and AI. That's stuff that I work on sort of daily at UF with my involvements. And Trump is sort of one of them is that he's removing all barriers to AI innovation, and sort of investing in AI, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, but he's sort of pulling back on a lot of the policies that Biden put in place about AI. And so it's not necessarily just necessarily just for innovation. He's sort of pulling back on policies that sort of protected um Americans not only from like their own sort of privacy and stuff, but from like misinformation, and the kinds of things that are going to start to be put out there as
Yeah,
AI gets better. So
Mm.
right. Yeah, I think actually like one that's not directly related to that, but similar, I think, angle that I might take with it is the banning of paper straws. Um, I think I don't necessarily completely disagree with the move away from paper straws. I disagree with kind of the motivation, like, oh, we should use plastic straws instead, which is directly like they're they're trying to get rid of policies to disfavor plastic straws, which I don't necessarily think is great because plastic straws, are made out of chemicals after their use, right? They don't go away very fast. They cause a lot of damage to the planet, to nature, right? But paper straws also have their drawbacks. They take a lot of natural resources to make, and we have a safer product, obviously, but there can be some environmental strains there as well. So it's one like I think similarly to like the AI one where I don't think it's bad to encourage the development of AI as long as we do it in the right way. I don't disagree with trying to find a more sustainable option than paper straws because there are some drawbacks there. But I disagree with like it's a regressive step rather than a progressive one. It's kind of like, oh, we should go back to what we had before. I don't really necessarily think that's going to help with the issues that are being caused in general. And I think just in general, kind of all the sustainability, environmental, EPA, climate change initiatives, Paris Climate Accords, all that stuff. I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of regression there. And as somebody who likes science, I just don't really see where the expertise is coming in there.
Yeah.
yeah, um, I agree. And sort of along those lines of climate protection, environmental protection, um, we see funding sort of starting to be pulled away from the national parks. Um, you know, me and Chris have definitely sort of found a common hobby in wanting to go explore national parks. We had the three of us together had our inaugural um sort of trip that we planned to Shenandoah
Mhm.
National Park.
Yeah.
Um, we had a great time there.
Yeah.
So it's definitely sad to see the funding being pulled away. Um, Chris and I wanted to work for a national park, or I wanted to work for a national international park this summer. That doesn't seem like it's gonna happen. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I think um it's kind of sad to see like some of the funding being taken away from national parks because like, um there is I understand some of the like, you want to save money, but like at the same time, like preserving these national parks is not necessarily like one of the biggest costs that we're especially right now in the government. And I feel like the implications of like just getting rid of all these employees that are supposed to be protecting the parks, and preserving these like nature these nature preserves, could have massive implications in the future. And I feel like also like I don't know for me, but just going to national parks is one of my favorite things to do. And I think it's just like a great hobby to have, and it's kind of like sad to see that like maybe like things could be changing in the future. But like overall, yeah. Just to touch on that, yeah, no, like Nate and I, we've been planning like a big trip post college.
hmm
Um, yeah, very exciting stuff. And I think some of our goals is just to hit as many national parks as possible. Still trying to figure out like how and what we're gonna do.
Well, the
Um,
feasibility of
yeah,
the trip went way up when you got up to Tacoma for Christmas, you know?
yeah, that did help. Um, so yeah, we'll probably I don't know what parks you want to hit, Nate, but I think our big like I think at least what we talked about is hitting Wyoming. Um, that definitely would be sick. I want to hit up Glacier National Park.
Yeah.
Um, obviously like all the other ones like Yellowstone.
I think we
And
do the whole thing. I think if we did it,
yeah,
it'd be like we'd have to devote at least, I don't know, a month.
yeah, definitely.
Um, to sort of doing the trip. We'd I guess leave from Haddonfield, go all the way up. I think we'd like go like sort of like up on the north um side of the country and then come down back down south on the west coast and then drive back on the southern part.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. I think yeah, there's gonna be a lot of driving, just to say the least. But like, that I feel like we could like, you know, get some tents or whatnot, build like a little facade like shelter type of thing that we can like sleep in during the nights.
Mhm.
But yeah.
And Ian, I was thinking you could sort of join us along the way. I'm not sure if we'd have room for you in the truck. I was thinking you could kind of more sort of like Forrest Gump it.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I know
Yeah,
you're training for your half marathon, so I thought maybe you'd be inclined to partake in that idea.
that sounds good. I mean, Henry Brickner. Henry Brickner is a longtime friend of mine. I would say he's a friend of Nate and Chris's as well. His older brother did a cross country biking trip a couple years ago. So I
Oh
mean,
wow, and
that's in play. I feel like I could bike meet you guys some of the way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
all right, and you go.
Do we think
Yeah,
that
and I
Ian
think
would sur do we think that Ian would survive like in the wilderness on his own? Do you think that Ian's a survivor?
I think Ian would kind of go crazy. I think what we saw when we went to Shenandoah with Ian is, I think panic sets in after like day one. He kind of starts to lose his mind. We were just walking on trails and,
I'm just saying hi to
like,
people.
yeah,
A
but
little
like,
bit of an into the wild
yeah, he,
type of ordeal.
be, a lot of interesting word choices, very energetic way of greeting people. I think, I forget some of them, but I think one of them, he'd be like, say like, he'd be like, toodles to people, I think that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, maybe once or
Um,
twice.
yeah, maybe more than that. Um, also I think he kind of lost his mind. We made some steaks, and he started spam posting on his Instagram story, uh, with steak, yum, and I think it was funny because like he lost cell service, so he couldn't delete it, so it was like on the storage for a little bit.
Yeah, it was good
So he kind of
times.
lost, and he also like jumped off like the loft and like broke a bed. Um,
I didn't break the bet.
You broke the bed.
the board snapped in. You got a lot of mass there, a lot
It
of
came
momentum
it
coming
came
down.
that came that way. Oh, speaking of mass, I meant to ask Nate. I'm curious. How's everything going? Cooking for yourself, working out.
Oh, it's been pretty good. Definitely I like the ability to have a kitchen, have my own groceries. For those who don't know, I recently moved into an apartment this semester after living in my frat house.
Uh,
Um,
Why?
yeah.
Why?
Well, my good old fraternity got suspended from campus for undisclosed reasons. Um, you showing me your armpit
and
sweat?
What are you talking about?
Ian, what was that? Ian, go back to what you're doing.
Ian, were you showing me your underarm?
One of the things about
I
Ian
don't
that I
know what you're
love,
talking about.
he's always wet, always wet.
Yep.
He's a very sweaty guy. He's always moist, um, which is like a plus. If you ever need a moist human being, he's always there for you.
Nice. Yeah, I'd say that's accurate.
Yeah, very, very, very accurate. I just remember, like, I remember Ian coming back from like You know, like every day during lunch, we'd play basketball during lunch. Kind of started that at our high school. And like
We
instead of
were we
eating,
were
we'd play
definitely we were
basketball.
definitely the founders of launch
We
basketball.
we're the founding fathers of it, and it became a huge thing, and everyone wanted to play. You know, Ian always. I tried hard, Nate tried hard, but like, holy crap, did Ian try hard? Um, and every day without fail, after lunch, he would be the sweatiest human being ever. Like to the point where like Ro had to change his like underwear, his pants, and his
That's
shirt.
not
Like
true. That's not true.
he literally
I
did.
changed my shirt.
Yeah, and to give context, Ian had French class
Yeah,
after lunch every day,
immediately
and
after.
the let's just say the demographics of French class were sort of more overwhelmingly of the female population, and
Yeah, so that strong odor.
I also
I would
sat like across the class, so I had to walk in front of everybody back and forth as I changed my shirt every day.
yeah, Ian, would you say that that is sort of the that sort of epitomizes your game in a sense,
Yeah,
or maybe like lack thereof?
Um, I mean, I don't. I mean, I feel like there are probably better ways that you could do that than specifically focusing on that. But I mean, I guess in a way you could maybe like I'm a hard worker and that's evident, but maybe not necessarily in all the right areas all the time. Like that's I
Right,
think that's maybe a good analogy.
right.
yeah. I think one of Ian's biggest flaws is his ability to interact with the other gender.
I mean,
Um,
to a certain degree, romantically, I would say. I do well with my female friends.
yeah. Um, yeah, I think that just started the downfall when Ian, not a lot of high school girls like
What do you
find,
mean started the downfall?
well, I mean, maybe that's a little too brutal, but I think looking back at it, maybe if you wanted to like, have some game, you wouldn't show up very dripping and sweaty and smelly from lunch basketball every day.
I
But
mean,
I respect.
if I'm remembering correctly, you and I had the same amount of high school girlfriends. If I remember that correctly.
Yeah.
Mm,
Well,
depends on what you consider.
yeah, it depends what you're talking about.
I feel like
Um,
there is there. Make your argument. Did you have a high school girlfriend?
no, I would not say I had a high school girlfriend. No, but I had definitely more prospects than you did, Ian.
Did you? Can you tell us about them, maybe?
No, I think that's another podcast time. I don't think people want to hear about that
I think people
for
really
sure.
want to hear about that.
I think they do.
No, 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 I don't think I want to share that.
All right, we'll let you off the hook. Yeah, but lunch basketball, those were good days. Big
Yeah,
shout
Ian,
out
before,
to Julian Durkin and Luke Sincere, probably two
oh
two
yeah.
MVPs of lunch basketball, I would say.
Mm.
Yeah, and Ian, before you like completely like shit on me, like I was gonna give you a shout out for like how you know I was hating on you, but like how committed you were to lunch basketball. I really appreciate the commitment to the
Yep,
bros. You know,
yep,
he always puts the bros first. You know,
Thanks, Chris.
can always count on them.
I would agree.
I appreciate that.
But one thing is true, Luke definitely got worse at basketball, a lot worse. And that kid caused so much trouble for me. You know, going back to AP Physics, I sat in between him and Julian, and they tormented me, almost got me suspended. Um, there's a lot of stories that go into that, but it's one of those.
Broke into your shower with a lightsaber.
Oh yeah, he did do
Oh
that
yeah,
too.
that was awesome in Disney World.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things, and then we have my high school football coach and teacher listening to me sing in the shower.
Yeah,
Oh
Interesting,
yeah.
yeah, very interesting time.
he
Me and
he
got
really he
to
really liked me on that trip too.
Yeah.
yeah, interesting times.
Do you guys remember on that trip when you locked me outside in the Disney World Resort in my underwear?
Yeah, I have a photo of that. It was really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
That was good.
What else happened? Oh, Ian and I wrestled.
Oh yeah.
That was,
I won a wrestling match.
I
Who
wouldn't
is
say win. I wouldn't say win. There was a lot of
Pretty sure the
It
pictures.
wasn't fair.
Pretty
It
sure the
wasn't fair.
pictures show a win.
We made some phone calls as well from the room.
Oh, that was awesome.
That's what started the wrestling match.
Yeah.
Is that actually what why?
Well, you were on the
Yeah.
phone. You called somebody, and you were like, "Yeah, Ian smells so bad right now." And I
Was
was
it
so
Marina?
yeah, it was Marina, and I was so mad at you. I whirled around and I slapped you, and then we started wrestling.
Why would you get mad at that? It was probably true.
It wasn't true because you were like insulting my hygiene the whole trip, and you were the one who was like messy in the room.
No,
You
I
were
would
like,
never. I would never do that.
shut up. You were
I
complaining about having to
ask
sleep with me.
ask anyone around me. You know, you can ask Nate. You can ask anyone. I'm a great guy. I would never do anything like that, and I never make anyone else feel less of themselves.
You know what's interesting is ever since that trip, you guys have never. I don't think you guys have ever shared a bed since then. I think it's either sort of been me and Chris, or me and Ian, and then Chris and Julian. So on all of our trips, you know,
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
think you've ever been paired up again.
Yeah, it's true.
yeah. Ian was. You know, I slept next to Ian that trip. I didn't want to. You know, but like waking up to that like slime trail against your back.
Stop it. We were separated by a pillow wall.
A very
I
defined
disagree.
pillow.
That shit was it was very stinky. Very, very stinky. I felt disgusting. But anyways.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about?
I don't believe so.
All right. Well, I mean, this was great, Nate. Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, I mean,
Of course, I'd love to be back.
We'd love to have you back.
In any way, shape, or form. You know, if there's ever a segment I'm needed for.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll definitely have it back on the show at some point. You know, there's a lot of stories we didn't get into, that we definitely want to share at some point. You know, we'll definitely have you in the rotation. But you know, very exciting future for the podcast. We have there's like a line of at least like 30 people that have contacted me personally to be a guest speaker. So you know, the line's long, so we'll have definitely a bunch of weeks full of exciting people. Don't know, no announcement yet of who will be the next speaker in the next episode. But yeah, we'll definitely have some update on that for you on Instagram. But yeah,
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. Nate, thank you for joining us. It's been a blessing.
It has.